This is the Cool Meanderings with Dr. Germ G podcast. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Cool Meanderings with Dr. Germ G. I'm your host, Dr. Germ G. Yep, I'm still an aspiring writer and lover of sports, comics, culture. I chuckle, but I really do have a love for writing, and I do hope to publish some works in the future that are fictional. Maybe some historical fiction, but fiction nonetheless. But I also have a background in academic writing and teaching, and right now I teach in the K-12 space, which has been very interesting given that, I started out in higher ed. But yeah, man, today I want to spend some time just going around a few topics, just meandering through a couple of themes that have been on my mind in recent weeks, but really haven't found a space to just shoot the breeze. But actually, though, I want to just I think we'll call it a meandering through the spring, because we're almost in the month of May, which is sort of the middle of spring. The first day of spring was March 20th. So that was maybe about 6 weeks ago, roughly 6 weeks ago, 5-6 weeks. And right now we're about 7 weeks away from the first day of summer, which is June 20th. So we're more or less in the middle. So yeah, I think this might be a good time to talk about a few things. Can't go on and on and on, so I'll pick a few. I definitely want to give my thoughts on the 2025 NFL Draft. Now, the big story that everyone kept talking about was quarterback Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. That's the University of Colorado Boulder, the Buffaloes. He was coached by his very famous father, Deion Sanders, primetime Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. People know him from his days as an all-time great NFL cornerback. But he's made a name for himself in the coaching world, starting out at Jackson State, having some success there, and then eventually going to Colorado. And after a rough first year, the Buffaloes, they came back and they won 10 games in Coach Prime's second year, and Shedeur Sanders and his brother Shiloh were a big part of that. Now, Shedeur Sanders was the quarterback, and his brother Shiloh was a cornerback. He wasn't the best cornerback on the team. The best cornerback on the team ended up winning the Heisman. That was Travis Hunter, who was the modern-day version of Charles Woodson, the last corner to win the Heisman back in 1997. But what's unique is that both Woodson and Hunter played offense and defense and were impactful on both sides of the ball and special teams. I'd say Woodson probably was a more impactful player in special teams, but Hunter was viable. But anyway, these guys together, along with a pretty decent running game and an improved defense, helped the Buffaloes win 10 games. Well, based on the production, the thought was that Shedeur Sanders would probably be one of the top quarterbacks taken in the draft. He was highly rated on a lot of draft experts' boards, if not the best quarterback, definitely top 5 quarterback in the draft. But somehow, he went undrafted after the first 2 days of the draft. And teams were taking all kinds of guys, Tyler Show was taken in the second round by the New Orleans Saints. Dylan Gabriel was taken by the Cleveland Browns in the third round. No disrespect to those guys, but based on production, I would argue that Shedeur Sanders is just as good, if not slightly better. So, essentially, he got robbed. He was shut out. Why? Well, there could be a number of reasons. One is probably Coach Prime. Apparently, he was the agent for both Shedeur and Shiloh. And following the draft, there's some reporting that Shiloh dropped his dad as his agent after going undrafted and signing as an undrafted free agent with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, according to reports, Shiloh decided to sign with Drew Rosenhaus, who's a pretty well-known agent, sports agent, pretty successful. So it's hard to argue with that. I mean, if your dad's your agent, you go undrafted, okay, it makes sense to make a change. And then not only that, but you see your brother, who was at the very least a late first round pick, not get drafted until the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders was drafted in the 5th round, also by the Cleveland Browns, which means that Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel are going to have to compete to get a shot to be a backup or a potential starter on the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, I can understand why Shiloh may have said, "Well, Dad, I love you, but I don't think you're the best sports agent." That's okay. You know, Coach Prime is a lot of things. Maybe he's just not a good sports agent. That's okay. Now, another reason why Shedeur may have dropped is that there's some thought that he didn't really sell himself well during the draft process. Reports suggest that he skipped several opportunities to show skills at the Senior Bowl, NFL Combine, and some of his interviews with teams didn't seem to go so well, to put it mildly. You know, there are lots of rumors surrounding Shedeur Sanders, but the overarching viewpoint was that he just didn't do a good job of making his case to teams. And I think, though, another reason to consider with Shedeur's situation is probably that the NFL has a double standard for some quarterbacks or for some players more broadly. Because Sanders is not the first high draft prospect to come into the league with some extra attention or controversy. I mean, his father had his own for that time back in the 80s, but in recent times, he is not the first quarterback to come in or first player to come into the league with all sorts of attention. So, I don't know. And he's definitely not the first quarterback that made demands about where they may or may not want to play. Supposedly, it's rumored that Leon made some suggestions to teams that perhaps his son may not play for them. But there are lots of rumors, though. These are I haven't done any substantiating. These are just rumors. But I just find it ironic that the league would potentially take such a hard line with Shedeur, because the league today kind of reinforces all the attention that players are getting because of, for instance, they have the HBO Hard Knocks series, which chronicles a team's training camp, and it's not just a simple monitoring of practice. There's a lot of drama in these series. Otherwise, who would watch? So, and not to mention that in the most recent Hard Knocks, it had all 4 teams from the AFC North. The gritty, disciplined, focused AFC North all had their teams in the HBO Hard Knocks series. So I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, look, the league just wanted to send a message, but I wonder if it was the right message. See, the league may continue to be run by mostly old white men, but like it or not, the world is changing, as is the NFL fan base. So it'll be interesting to see how this move reverberates over time. Now, Sanders does have his shot. He's going to get it in Cleveland, where they have a suspect quarterback room. You have Deshaun Watson, who was guaranteed $250 million, and he may not play for Cleveland or anyone ever again. And then you have Joe Flacco, who's I think in his early 40s. He's essentially 1 or 2 good hits away from being on the IR. And then there's Kenny Pickett, who's probably in serious trade talks as I speak. And then, of course, there's Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon, Oklahoma, and the University of Central Florida, where he was a winner. He was a winner in all 3 of those universities. but I just think he's a little undersized for today's NFL. Now, his track record suggests that he has the intangibles for leadership, which is invaluable. But is it going to be enough to hold off Shedeur? I don't know. But you can't look. Cleveland saw something in him that they were willing to take him 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders. So, fair or unfair, it's a legit quarterback competition, and Shedeur has a shot. So let's see what he does. He's definitely going to get reps. These guys are going to get reps because they're not going to want to play Flacco in the preseason. I mean, again, he's a couple of good hits away from being on the IR, and then they'll have to rely on one of these guys to run the offense. So, but I thought a few other teams did a really good job during the draft. I really liked the Pittsburgh Steelers draft picks after the first round. They picked up a D lineman, Derek Hampton from Oregon. I don't know. I generally wasn't that impressed with Oregon's defensive line, and this guy's health may be a potential problem. But after the first round, I thought the Steelers did a really nice job. They picked up Caleb Johnson, a pretty solid running back from Iowa. He's about 6'2". He's a nice addition to their backfield after losing Najee Harris to the Chargers. He's a big, quick back with decent hands, and he's going to fit Arthur Smith's offense fairly well. So that'll be interesting. But I really like their 4th-round pick. They drafted linebacker Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Now, Sawyer seems like the kind of player that Coach Mike Tomlin loves because he never gives up on a play. He's aggressive. He's a ball hawk. He's definitely the kind of guy that would thrive in the AFC North. So I think Tomlin has a winner with these picks. I also like his QB pick in the 6th round. I thought he picked up a solid QB with another Buckeye quarterback, Will Howard, who also played for Kansas State. I think Howard might be able to see the field quickly in Pittsburgh because, there's talk of the Steelers signing Aaron Rodgers. But listen, I like Aaron Rodgers, okay, but I think he's done. The Steelers' O-line wasn't and isn't going to be much better than the Jets' O-line from last year. So once Rodgers takes a few hits, I think he's likely done again. I mean, this is assuming that he signs with Pittsburgh because he hasn't signed yet. But if he does, I think Howard is the right kind of player to bring in because he's an experienced winning quarterback who's mature, and I think he'll be ready to play. And, assuming that, because Rodgers is not going to last the full season. He just isn't. So, good job, Pittsburgh. And congrats to the Tennessee Titans. They picked up the number 1, and to Cam Ward, who was drafted out of Miami as the number 1 pick. I think he's going to have a solid career as a QB in the NFL. But I think perhaps Tennessee's best move was signing Ward's favorite target at the U, Xavier Restrepo, as an undrafted free agent. See, Restrepo is the real deal. I mean, this guy is always open. Always open. I don't understand it. I don't understand, this guy, he's played, top-notch competition because, Miami is in the ACC. And if you look at their opponents, they didn't play many cupcakes. They played a lot of solid opponents. And Restrepo made play after play after play after play. Before Cam Ward came to Miami, Restrepo was still making plays. Restrepo is legit one of the best receivers in Miami Hurricanes history. And the fact that he went undrafted is just beyond me. I don't understand it. But good for Tennessee. Tennessee, man, they got a baller. Restrepo is a baller. I think he's going to be in the league for a while. Absolutely. He'll be in the league for a while. He gets open. Okay, you take the combine stuff out of it and just look at how players perform on the field. Some guys just have game speed and they have they have the intangibles to get themselves open on the field. And I think Restrepo is one of those guys. I don't think he's a combine guy. I don't think he's a data guy. I think he's a play ball guy, catch the ball, get open guy. And I think Tennessee, man, they hit it out of the park. They got Cam Ward and his best target, because he had some other athletes that he was throwing to who got drafted fairly early, but there's a reason why he was throwing the ball to Restrepo. Because Restrepo was open and he had reliable hands. He was open and had reliable hands. As a quarterback, what more could you ask for? You want your guys to be open and to catch the ball. Period. That's Restrepo. So, good job. I also like the Chicago Bears draft. They picked up a couple of pass options for quarterback Caleb Williams. They got Colston Loveland from Michigan as a tight end, a hybrid tight end. I think he'll be a good fit in Ben Johnson's offense. And Luther Burden III, also a pretty solid option. So they've got some pieces, man. They already have a few pieces in Chicago for the passing game, but now adding Loveland and Burden, I think is going to take some pressure off Williams, but also create opportunities for the backfield. And this is where I think Chicago might have really nailed it. See, they picked up Kyle Monangai from Rutgers University in the 7th round. Now, this running back, man, this guy is like 5'11", 218, 215, 218. He might be one of the top draft steals. This kid can play. I saw him run over the Washington Huskies and a few other teams in the Big Ten this past season. I think Chicago might be a great spot for him, because the defenses are going to key on Caleb Williams and all of his passing options, which could include Monangai at times, but this guy's going to get you yards. And he breaks tackles, he gets yards. Man, I think it's a great addition. In the 7th round, it might be a steal. I think he also will be around for a while. He'll be in the league for a while, for sure. I think so. But yeah, there are other honorable mentions. I think the Packers picked up a pretty nice receiver in Matthew Golden from Texas. I mean, I think Jordan Love, quarterback for Green Bay Packers, has had some pretty nice options to throw to. But Matthew Golden might be a number 1 receiver. He might be. I mean, time will tell. I mean, I'm sure the Packers think so, but let's see. And let's see what happens when he's on the field. Is he available? Will he be healthy? Can he stay healthy? I think those are the big questions for Matthew Golden. And the Baltimore Ravens, they had a pretty decent draft. They picked up Malachi Starks from the University of Georgia. So they have another long, athletic, hybrid player that they can add to their secondary. It's a good pick, man. It's a good, very good pick. Yeah, to me, those are the picks that really stand out. I mean, there are a few others, but those are the ones where I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, that team really made a move there. Yeah, I really like Pittsburgh's draft. I like Chicago's draft. I think both of those teams they put themselves in a pretty good position, I think. So, but overall, though, the draft was interesting. Truthfully, I didn't follow it too much. I mean, I followed it online, but I didn't sit like I might have sat, 10 years ago and just watch each draft pick. No, I didn't do that. I have other things going on, but I caught enough of it to know that Pittsburgh and Chicago, to me, are the bigger winners. They are the biggest winners in this year's draft. I think so. And some would say Cleveland because they picked up Shedeur Sanders in round 5. Maybe so, but we'll see. At the very least, he has a shot. But if I'm thinking like teams that picked up players where these guys will definitely see the field, they're very likely to, I would say Pittsburgh and Chicago, and even Pittsburgh's first round draft pick. Look, I wasn't high Oregon's D-line, but they were obviously good enough to go undefeated into the playoff. I mean, they beat Ohio State. I mean, they beat all kinds of players. So, I mean, the D-line was fine. I just didn't find them to be imposing or intimidating. But that's just one guy's take. Anyway, I think, overall, the draft was a mild success. It wasn't a great year for quarterbacks, but lots of really good position players, lots of linemen. I think this draft was really about the line, offensive line, defensive line. It's about the trenches. This is the trenches draft. And that's a good thing. That's cool, man. Trenches and skills. Lots of skilled players, but definitely a lot of players that are in the trenches were highlighted in this draft. So that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about Daredevil Born Again season 1. I did see it all the way through on Disney Plus, and it's a continuation of the Daredevil series that was put on Netflix thanks to Marvel TV, Marvel Entertainment, some 6 years ago. And those 3 seasons, but particularly the first 2 were, and really even the last one. I mean, I think that the Daredevil series on Netflix is probably one of the better Marvel-related series that's been put out over the last 10 years. And that would include all the MCU stuff on Disney Plus. I think that Netflix Daredevil series is iconic, and it's got some great scenes that that resonate with people that like the grounded Marvel stuff. So yeah, so they're back, and they brought back a lot of the cast, a lot of the characters from that Netflix series, and right away, I mean, they didn't waste time. Right away, it's just like boom, lots of action in that first episode. They just picked up where they left things at the end of season 3, and which was, for a first episode, it was jam-packed and exciting, and I was looking forward to what was next. Unfortunately, though, we got a pretty drawn out series, and I think it probably is attributed to the fact that the original script for Daredevil was scrapped in exchange for something more geared towards how this series and a few others build off of what Marvel is doing. So apparently this was supposed to originally be an 18 episode season 1, but thankfully Kevin Feige and a few others put their heads together and found some writers that would make a Daredevil Born Again season 1 feasible with maybe a little less than half of the proposed 18 episodes. So yeah, so things seem to taper off with the series. The middle was just a little difficult. I mean, I was hyped for how they were going to use Muse, but it just disappointed. I don't understand why Marvel thought it was a good idea to waste such an interesting character like Muse. I mean, for just really 2 episodes. Just, I don't know. I mean, unless, he suddenly rises from the dead, or, in season 2, it's just an unfortunate waste. So, but anyway, yeah, I thought overall that the series it dragged, except for some key moments with involving Hector Ayala, the White Tiger, played by the late Camar de los Reyes. I mean, his scenes, they seem to resonate. Like I could feel him through the screen. I don't know. It's a weird thing to explain, but there's some people that have a presence, whether it's on the stage or on the screen, or small screen, big screen. And I felt like this particular actor just had a presence. unfortunate that he's no longer with us, but I enjoyed his role as the Black Tiger, and I don't know. This other character may not be a fan favorite, but I also enjoyed the Heather Glenn character, played by Margarita Levieva. The Russian-born actress does a really nice job playing Matt Murdock's love interest and Wilson Fisk's shrink. So now, based on her filming credits, she could totally be more than the former in the series. I wouldn't be surprised if some intel or related past is revealed about her in season 2. It just seems to me that she can do more. She can be more in this series. Like she's hiding something important in the series. I hope so. I hope that's what it is, and not just my imagination. Because I just think that so much intellectual property, so much that Marvel has that they can use to promote its cinematic universe, and it's just general interest. So I don't know. We'll see. But in any case, I think it's really just an opportunity for Marvel to salvage what they can with the series, because they really did waste another interesting villain character. Now, I also enjoyed some of the supporting characters in Fisk Mayor Office, like Michael Gandolfini's Daniel Blake and Sabrina Guevara's Sheila. I thought that these two characters were so compelling and definitely kept me on edge with some of their scenes. It just, you just realize that they are right there with Fisk. So they are his sort of exclusive members that are just vital to what they're going to do in season 2. Now, the hype train is all about season 2. The ending of season 1 definitely sets up some possibilities, but I just want to state that these are simply possibilities at this point. Look, Marvel needs to put their money where their mouth is and give the fans that vigilante team up that they've been teasing throughout Daredevil Born Again season 1. Whether it's Defenders, Spider-Man, New Avengers, Young Avengers, Old Avengers, just give us something. Give us some sort of team up. Because Fisk, this is a spoiler for those that haven't seen it yet, but Fisk declared war on vigilantes throughout the city and basically has the city under curfew. So the plot is there. Let's see what they come up with, all right? And while that's happening, we still have a lot of fun stuff from Marvel coming this summer. I'm excited for the Thunderbolts and the Fantastic Four. We're getting the Thunderbolts this week, in fact, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. I'm sure it's going to be another interesting installment in the MCU. Probably a little bit better than Captain America: Brave New World. And we'll see. But yeah, that should be cool. And now I'm really excited to see how these films, both the Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, tie into prep for Avengers Doomsday. Because after 2025, all the focus will be on getting ready for Avengers Doomsday. So these movies, particularly the Fantastic Four, should be pivotal for what happens next. So I'm curious. Yeah, the trailers were awesome, but they didn't give too much away, which is good. So we'll just, man, we're looking forward to seeing what's next. And I wanted to briefly briefly meander into some more education-related topics. I recently posted an episode with some thoughts on international education, but particularly, foreign students that come to study and live in the U.S. and students that are born here that may be interested in studying abroad or living abroad or doing some research abroad or working abroad. So I was talking about all that last week, but in the back of my mind, I kept thinking about all the changes that are coming in the education department and what that means or what that could potentially mean for special education. And, just those fundamental questions of where will it be and who will man this situation. Look, I think there are a couple of things here. With the restructuring of the education department or Department of Education, for special ed, the thought is that it would migrate to the Agency for Health and Human Services. What that means for special education is not entirely clear. There's some speculation of perhaps the country taking a step back in terms of its support for special ed. I'm not sure I see that either. Right? Based on what's available, it looks like there's going to be some presence on special education in both the Education Department website and the Health and Human Services website. But what that means going forward, we really don't know. What you probably can guess is that, states are likely to have greater oversight, because I'm pretty sure that this current administration is eager to send grants and other funding mechanisms to states to promote opportunities for what they consider to be quality education, but that's neither here nor there. The point, though, is that at a micro level, individual states and even school districts may end up thriving from this current situation. It doesn't solve the bigger problems or answer the bigger questions, but I think in the interim, depending on one's skill set and background, there's opportunity to pivot and to, just take the opportunity to be more involved in a critical component of education in our country. But to know that, for one, the potential changes would mean greater oversight at the state and local level is a welcome idea. We'll see what happens. So, we shall see. I think I'm going to end it there because there's a lot more I want to say about or speculate about regarding special education or K through 12. But I think it's just an evolving situation. And there are moving parts. But hopefully you all will take this opportunity to maybe practice a little more of your writing so that when you're quizzed on it or when you take the test, you'll feel a bit more confident. Well, if you're still on there and you're listening to this podcast episode, thank you. I appreciate it. And definitely join and subscribe. We'd love to have you. Also, you're welcome to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Dr. Germ G, which is affiliated with Cool Meanderings with Dr. Germ G. So feel free to drop me a line at Dr. Germ G, DrJermG at coolmeanderings.com. Thanks again for listening, folks. I appreciate your support, and hopefully we'll keep these conversations open as things change. All right? Cheers. This is the Cool Meanderings podcast with Dr. Germ G.